Last week, I asked you over on my Instagram to send me all your Hermes/luxury shopping related questions, comments, and concerns. And as always, I got some incredible questions. So if you took time out of your day to submit your questions to me, just know that I appreciate you. And I not only got a ton of questions on Hermes, but we also have quite a few more personal questions. So I figured we could dedicate part 1 and maybe a big chunk of part 2 of this video to Hermes/luxury shopping. And then at the end, I could answer some of your more personal questions in case you're interested in learning a little bit more about me. And if you're not, you can just hop off once I have answered all your luxury questions. But we have a ton of topics to cover, so I should probably stop rambling and get into answering your questions. We're going to be talking a lot about some of the new Hermes bags, my thoughts on shopping at Hermes, some of my best tips. We're going to be talking about how to be a more conscious luxury consumer, some of my favorite discontinued bags, luxury pieces that I am currently after, and so on. So we have plenty to discuss. And if this sounds interesting to you and you'd like to hear my thoughts on anything and everything Hermes, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Maybe go ahead and grab yourself a drink or a snack, because I am not known for being concise. And keep on watching. Thoughts on the new Kelly Moove bag, which is a really interesting new Hermes bag launch. I mean, it's nothing revolutionary, but it features the Kelly twist closure not only once, but even twice. So you know it is going to be an extremely hyped launch. Now, this bag to me is kind of reminiscent of the Berlin bag. To me, it feels like something between the Hermes Berlin and the Hermes G.P.S bags. The Moove bag is a little bit smaller than both of those bags. It is basically this elongated, almost half moon-shaped bag that comes with the Kelly twist closure, a longer leather strap, and then you also get this tiny little pouch on the strap, which you can play around with. I think it was meant for things like AirPods and lip balms, little things that you want to have easy access to. Personally, to me, there is a little bit too much going on because of not only the single Kelly twist closure, but you also have the Kelly twist closure twice. Instead of it featuring a thinner strap, the strap is quite wide, which makes this bag feel a lot more casual and laid back. So I do understand the appeal. It is definitely one of the most user-friendly and most laid back takes on a Kelly bag, but personally, it's nothing to go crazy over, in my opinion. If you like the sound of this bag, but it's not something you can get your hands on, it's not that different from the Mini Gypsy, which launched, I think, last year. Obviously, the twist closure is going to be slightly different, and you're not going to get that pouch detail. And on this bag, the strap is made of leather, whereas on the Mini Gypsy, it comes with a woolly canvas strap. And then if you would like to get an even more relaxed take on the Kelly, you can also look into the Berlin bag, which hasn't been around for quite a while, but you can still find it on the Preloved market. The big difference between the Moove and the Berlin is that the Berlin is slightly bigger, and then it also features this sort of padded, almost quilted detail, which has always reminded me of a sports car, like the seats that you get in sports cars. So it definitely makes it a really sporty bag. But you know, it's a decent bag, but personally, it's not my favorite iteration of the Kelly line. What are your latest obsessions, especially for fine jewelry and watches? Which is a great question, and I do actually have an answer for you. I'm just not sure if it's the answer you've been waiting to hear, but to be really honest with you, I have kind of been obsessed with my Apple Watch. I know it's nothing new. The Apple Watch has been around for years, but it took me so long to actually pull the trigger and get one. And I have no idea why I waited so long, because it has been life-changing. If you have a more active life and you need to be hands-free, if you have a dog, or if you work out a lot, or if you find yourself being on the go and you don't have time to always reach for your phone, getting an Apple Watch was life-changing. And I really didn't want to do it because I'm not really a techie person, but getting the Apple Watch and then accessorizing it with an Hermes strap is something that I have really been enjoying. If you would like to hear my thoughts on what Hermes straps to get for your Apple Watch. I will make sure to have my last unboxing linked up here for you. I don't want to go on anymore about the Apple Watch because I feel like it's something that I have been talking about for 2 videos at this point. So it's something that I have really been enjoying. I know I mentioned at the beginning of this year that I would like to invest in a new timepiece, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that just because I'm so happy with my Apple Watch and I don't see myself reaching for anything else. And I know that some people will wear their Apple Watch when they work out and then they'll change to another watch throughout the day, or if they go out at night, they'll just put on another watch. But I personally don't see myself doing it. I know myself, I am a creature of habit. So when I start wearing something, I will wear it for a long while before I switch into something else. So for watches, that's what I have been liking for myself. But I am still keeping my eyes peeled for a nice watch that comes up on the Preloved market, 2 watches, but I think we have some more questions on watches. So one watch that I really like the look of is the Cartier Crash. I think it is a beautiful watch. And then when we move on to some of my favorite watches for people to look into, I'll definitely mention some more, but that the Cartier Crash is something that I really do like the look of. It's not a priority. It's not something that I'm actively hunting for, but you never know what you find. And in terms of fine jewelry, I have gone back to wearing my Boucheron Quat ring, which is definitely one of my all-time favorite creations. I do go back and forth between this ring and some of my Hermes rings, but if I could only keep one piece of fine jewelry, I think this is the one that I would stick with, just because I love the statement that it adds to any outfit that I put this on with. It's just an amazing piece that makes a statement on its own. You don't need to stack it with anything else. I like that it adds some interest to an outfit, but it doesn't go overboard. It's not too in your face or obnoxious, but I love how it combines different shades of gold. It has a little bit of sparkle because of the diamonds, and then it also has an interesting ceramic detail. So Boucheron and the Quat line is definitely something that I would highly suggest, and it's something that I think is the piece that I have been most loyal to throughout the years. Please the wish, then SA left, got a new SA, starting from scratch, question mark. So it's a great question. If you have no idea what a wish is, most Hermes boutiques now work on a wish list system, which means that you can put in a wish for your dream bag. It doesn't mean that there is a physical wait list and you're waiting in line to get your hands on your dream bag. But if you put in a wish for a bag, which most stores will now do it digitally, meaning that you'll go talk to your advisor and then they'll walk you through. They'll usually put the wish in their phone and they'll ask you questions such as what bag are you interested in, what colors, what sizes. I think you can choose technically in the system. I think the system allows you to put in 2 sizes, 2 colors, and 2 leather options, but they can add additional remarks in the note section. And once you have selected the bag, the leather, the color, the size, and so on, your wish will go into a digital system that the managers and the store directors have access to. And as soon as something becomes available, as soon as something comes into the store, they can have a look in that digital system to see who is waiting for that specific bag and decide who that bag gets allocated to. Now, this doesn't mean that the first person who puts in a wish will be first in line. Of course, if the director knows you, if you have a great rapport and a great relationship with the brand, that will increase your chances of getting offered a bag, but that's basically the idea behind the wish. The reason this wish list system has been implemented by a lot of stores, in my opinion, is to make the Hermes game seem a little bit more fair. Is it really doing that? That's up for discussion, but that's the whole idea behind the wish. And then the other approach to allocating bags is to have more of a spending criteria or a spending limit, which is what most stores in Asia and some stores in the US still do, meaning that to break it down and make it really simple, the more you spend it, the easier it's going to be for you to get your hands on your dream bag. Now, it doesn't guarantee that if you spend a lot of money, you will get a bag, because that is not the case, but that's kind of the idea. The longer you shop with the brand, the better your rapport is, the easier it is going to be for you to request a bag. Whereas if there's a wish list system, you put in a wish and then at that point, it's out of the hands of your advisor. The wish goes in front of the manager and the director, and they are the ones who will be looking at it. So if you have already submitted a wish, it actually has nothing to do with your advisor, because now your wish is in front of the managers and the directors. So it shouldn't affect your past wishes, but it will take you some time to get to know the new advisor that you are shopping with. But I really don't think that it would affect your wishes in any shape or form, because once the wish has been put into the system, your advisor actually has nothing to do with it. It will be up to the managers and the directors to decide whether or not a bag can be released to you. Moving on to another new Hermes bag launch, which is not technically that new, but it is the re-release of the Constance Elan, because I got a ton of questions on that bag. When I posted my Q&A announcement on Instagram and on YouTube, I posted a picture of the Constance Elan, which was not my bag. It's a bag that I saw on display at Hermes last week, or yeah, I think it was last week when I was there to order all my new pieces. And I got a ton of questions on the Constance Elan. So if you're not familiar with the idea of this bag, it's a bag that originally launched, I think it was in 2010. Let's say the 2010s to be safe, because I can't remember the exact date, but it launched many, many years ago. And it was a more elongated take on the original Constance bag, which a lot of people liked, because even though it was a small bag, because it was more elongated, it was a lot easier to pack. And especially these days when phones are getting bigger and bigger, if you're a fan of mini bags, you know that most mini bags will not fit your phone, which for me was never an issue, because to be really honest with you, my phone never leaves my hands. But if you do like the option to be able to put your phone in your bag, which I completely understand, a more elongated bag is a great way to go, because you can still have a bag that features small proportions, but a bag that actually fits things. So it is a great shape to have in your collection, as long as you like these sort of east-west bags. I personally do not. I have said this before many times, but I used to work a lot with Photoshop when I was in college. And if you know Photoshop, you know that it's so easy to distort and deform pictures if you're not careful when resizing them. And that's what these bags remind me of, an extremely distorted and deformed Constance bag that was stretched and stretched and stretched, but it wasn't simultaneously increased in height. So it's not my personal favorite shape, but I know a lot of people love these sort of bags, and I completely understand the appeal. Again, if you like a small bag, but a bag that actually fits quite a bit, this shape is a good one to opt for. And then I got some questions on the Constance Elan compared to the Constance To Go wallet, which to me, they do very different things. To me, the Constance Elan feels much more like an actual bag that you can carry crossbody or as a shoulder bag. Whereas when it comes to the Constance wallet, or the Constance To Go, I should say, it's really something that I would only carry as a clutch bag, because I really don't like that really thin strap that comes with most To Go pieces. To me, they just cheapen the overall look. That strap looks honestly just like an afterthought. And considering how expensive they are, I really don't think that they are worth your hard-earned money. So if you are getting a Constance with the hope of carrying it as a crossbody or as a shoulder bag, I would opt for the Constance Elan. But if you feel like you are more likely to carry it as a clutch bag, definitely get the Constance wallet, but I wouldn't really go for the Constance To Go. Instead, I would just try to get a regular Constance wallet, which you can also get on the Preloved market at amazing prices. I am just seeing some more questions on that picture I posted. So someone asked, is this a Constance wallet? No, it is the new Constance Elan in Epsom in the color gold. And then someone else asked, a classic Constance or the East-West style Constance? So the East-West style Constance is the Constance Elan. Thanks. I would personally go for the original Constance, so either the Constance 18 or the Constance 24. The Constance Elan is technically only a centimeter longer than the Constance 24, because the Constance Elan measures 25 centimeters, but it feels a lot smaller just because it's more narrow. It's a lot shorter than the Constance 24 would be. And then there is an even larger Constance than the Constance Elan, which measures 29 centimeters, but it also comes with a much shorter strap, so it's not something you can actually carry crossbody. You can only carry it handheld or use it as a shoulder bag, which I actually really like the look of that bag. It's not called the Constance 29. It does have a unique name, which I can't remember now, but if it comes to me, I'll make sure to put it up on the screen here. But that Constance is not actually back in production. It has been discontinued for quite a while now. So I would personally opt for the original Constance bags. So probably a Constance 18 or a Constance 24, especially the new Constance 24, which comes with a longer strap and a removable mirror, which is a cute detail, but I mean, I don't think it would be life-changing. Thoughts on the new mini Her bag? I told you we have a lot of new bags to catch up on. So in case you haven't heard, Hermes is launching a new mini Her bag, which is basically going to be a tiny little camera bag. Now, this isn't the first time that Hermes has played around with the Her bag in a smaller size. If you're not familiar with the Her bag, I don't want to bore you with the details because I have done several deep dives on this bag. I'll make sure to have the most recent one linked up here. The Her bag, long story short, is one of my most favorite Hermes bags. I think it deserves a lot more attention because it is just an incredible bag that every single luxury lover could have a place for in their collections, and they are coming out with a new mini take on it. The vintage mini Her bag was a lot more, it was more of a phone case shape looking at it now, but this new mini Her bag is going to feel more like a camera bag in my opinion. It's going to be very similar to the original layout of the Her bag, so you're going to have the same clou-de-sal closure, the same body, which is made of canvas, and then it's going to feature a longer crossbody strap. But the new mini Her bag, as far as I understand, will not actually have that little handle that most Her bags come with, which makes sense. I think if you're looking for a really easy grab and go crossbody bag, the new mini Her bag is something that is worth asking about. I think it should be launching for fall winter, but it's not my most favorite take on the Her bag. The Her bag traditionally comes in size 31, 39, and then even larger sizes in the Hermes travel line. Personally, I would start with either the 31 or the 39, depending on your proportions and what size and what style of a bag you prefer. But the mini Her bag, you know, anything in the Her bag line, I will love. I love the fact that they draw inspiration from Hermes's heritage, that they have that really classic, simple, iconic shape and look that we know and love Hermes for, but it's done in a much more understated and user-friendly way. I think a lot of people will have issues with the fact that this bag is made of canvas, and a lot of people don't like spending a lot of money on canvas. I am the opposite because I know for a fact that canvas bags can be a lot easier to use and a lot easier to look after than a bag that's fully made of leather. But there are some cons to the Her bag that you have to keep in mind, all of which I discuss in my Her bag deep dive. But long story short, I like it. It's not something that I see myself adding onto my wish list. If my store ever gets it, I would love to try it and see it for myself. I am not opposed to the idea of getting it, but it's not really something that is immediately going on to my wish list. But if you like these sort of really casual, laid back, grab and go crossbody bags, this is certainly something that you could play around with. Which Hermes bag styles would you never buy? Great question. There are two bags that immediately come to mind. Number one is a more recent Hermes launch, which is the so-called steeple bag. It's a bag that's made of canvas. It's exclusively offered in canvas. You cannot buy this in leather. It comes in two different sizes, I think in size 25 and 28. And I really have nothing against the overall idea of this bag. What I have an issue with is the price, because this bag I think starts at over $4,000 in the small size, which, I mean, it's not an insane amount of money for an Hermes bag. It is crazy to spend that much money on a bag if you really think about it, but for an Hermes bag, it's really not that much. But considering what this bag will add to your collection, I think that price is just ludicrous. I could never justify spending this much money on such a simple, casual, and really just simple looking bag. If this bag was $1,000 or so, I would definitely recommend it. as a beach bag or as an everyday tote. But for this kind of money, I think you can do so much better. You could get yourself something that will add a lot more spice to your collection, because what this bag will do, the only thing that's able to do for you is make an outfit feel just really tired and casual looking. It will never help you dress something up. It will never add an interesting facet to an outfit or to your overall collection, even though it does feature some really interesting details. So I think the reason this bag is so expensive is because of the handmade leather handles. The handles are actually inspired by riding crops, so they are incredibly crafted. And then they also come with a little stirrup charm, which I like the fact that this bag pays tribute to the brand's equestrian heritage, but this bag should not be more expensive than $1,000. So it's definitely not something that I would see myself buying, or I would ever recommend that you spend your hard-earned money on, because it just doesn't look expensive. In fact, it really looks quite cheap, and it's far from being cheap. And then the other one, it is the Lindy. The Lindy bag is the one Hermes bag I really just don't get. I really don't understand the hype. I know that so many people are into it, but I genuinely believe that if this bag wasn't by Hermes, no one would ever look at this bag twice. But because it is, people go crazy for it. The Lindy bag has been around for many years. It's offered in several different sizes, and I think it is just an overkill. There's so much going on. You have two disproportionately small handles on each side, which are then connected with a wide leather band, which to me just makes me think of a straitjacket or a protective layer that should have been removed when you bought this bag. You have two sides pocket, which I appreciate the idea of. I guess they are there so you don't have to constantly go in and out of the bag, because the bag actually features a zip closure, which is not the easiest to open and close. I have several friends who are cult followers of these bags and have been collecting these for years in different leathers and colors. So I have been out with friends carrying these bags on several occasions, and I have seen what a struggle it can be to get in and out of this bag, because the zip actually sits on an angle. So sometimes you actually have to put down a bag on a flat surface to be able to open and close it. But you do have two mini pockets on each side, so you can slide a card or your phone in there, but the pockets are really quite small, especially if you go for one of the smaller bags, and they're also quite narrow. The zip is even quite complicated, because you not only have a twist closure, but you have these two large sort of droplet shaped leather zip pulls. As I mentioned, the zip sits on an angle, and the overall shape is really just quite awkward. I feel like if this bag was more stripped down, if it featured less details, it's something that I could have more of an appreciation for, but I really don't. To me, it just seems like a weird experiment. It just seems like, to me, that Hermes tried to throw all these details against the wall to see what sticks. It all stuck, so they decided to release it, and because it's Hermes, people went crazy for it. But I really don't believe that it would be nearly as popular as it is if it wasn't an Hermes bag, and if it wasn't constantly compared to the Kelly bag, because a lot of people will say, well, if you cannot get a Kelly, you can at least get a Lindy. But to me, it adds a completely different facet to your collection. And I'm pretty convinced that it wouldn't be this popular if it wasn't an Hermes bag, because there are so many other brands that have similar shapes that are even more refined than this, that no one ever talks about. So yeah, the Lindy is really just not for me. And I have never once seen anyone who was able to style the Lindy bag in a way where I was like, I could actually see this working. Anytime I see a Lindy, I'm just like, it's fine, but your outfit could look 10 times better if you styled it with a different bag. I think maybe at this point I'm just hyping myself up about it, because I just don't want to be convinced that I like it. But yeah, the Lindy is a bag that I could never see myself standing behind. And the staple bag, if it was a fraction of the price, maybe, but for over $4,000, it is definitely not worth your hard-earned money for what you get. Best stylish shoes for city summer: men's, no sneakers, any good loafers. Well, it really depends. If you're looking to buy a pair of loafers from Hermes, I think the Paris loafers in suede would be a great option. If you're not stuck on loafers, but you're open to other suggestions, I do love the Trip espadrilles from Hermes, which I think are an extremely underrated design from the brand. They're not only really comfortable, but they are also offered in a ton of different finishes, in leather, in suede. One thing to keep in mind is that these espadrilles are handmade in Spain, so they can vary in size. So it doesn't matter if you already own these shoes, you always want to try them before pulling the trigger. So the trip espadrilles I really do like, and I have been obsessed with these more ugly sort of Birkenstock inspired loafers. So the Hugo slip-ons from the row I have been really liking the idea of. And if you would like something that is just a little bit more sleek and refined, do look into, I think Loewe does two of them. There's one that's called the Troy, and then maybe the Fold loafers, which are just a little bit more, yes, sleek looking than the Hugos or the Birkenstocks. But I have really been enjoying these more, just these really thin, almost slipper-like loafers, which I think would be a great addition to your collection for summer. And the Row also does them. I think they're called the Canal loafers, which they've been doing those for years, both in leather and suede. But you can pretty much look at any loafers out there. As long as they are in suede, I think they will be really quite summer appropriate. But slipper and Birkenstock inspired loafers are the ones that I am incredibly obsessed with these days. Okay, let's move on to some of your questions that you left on YouTube. So the first question is, if you could keep only one Hermes item from each category, what would they be? Can you share more tips on how not to overspend? And since we are on the topic of having a baby with someone, we have another question here, which again is quite personal, but I mean, we're amongst friends. When it comes to finding a new relationship, are you open to being set up on a blind date by your friends, or would you rather leave it up to fate and wait until someone crosses path with you randomly? Honestly,